All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Nothing for Nothing Leaves Nothing. I'm your host, Lewis. In today's episode, we're going to talk about parents. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Nothing for Nothing Leaves Nothing podcast. So like I said, today's episode, we're going to talk about parents. Parents are the folks that obviously bring us into this world through the grace of God and Jesus. And they're the ones that set us, for the most part, on our trajectory in life and give us that blueprint to how life is going to go. They're your guide. They're your support. They're your number one fans. So doing this episode and putting this episode together has been a little difficult for me. And the reason it's been difficult, it's been a difficult week by itself. But there's been good insight for this week with kind of getting back in touch and, reaching back from a spiritual side for me, listening to the word, listening to some sermons this week that were inspiring in a bunch of ways and enlightening in a bunch of ways. Giving guidance that you didn't know you needed, but that's how God works, right? He's always there for you when you need him. May not come when you call him, but he's always right on time. So let's talk about parents. So both of my parents are still alive. My mom's name is Valerie Ling. My father's name is Robert Ling Jr. Both of my parents are in their 60s, still thriving, right? They still up and kicking. But this episode is going to talk about specifically how I was raised, the things I saw, things I experienced, and the things that I got from my parents. Being a parent is not an easy thing. There's no blueprint to being a parent. There's no direct guide to tell you should do it this way, you should do it that way. Most of the time for people when they become parents, you lean on those around you to guide you, people that are parents and family members and things of that nature that kind of, they're your support. They lend an ear when you need it. And then a lot of times you base your parenting style, is based off of how you were raised by your parents. Now, for me, there are a lot of good things that I take from how my parents were and how they were with myself, my sister, and my older brother, growing up. And even including, the later part of their life where my dad got remarried because my parents did get divorced. So my stepbrother and stepsister as well. But if I'm going back to, I would say the beginning for me when I started to realize, seeing the parents and things of that nature. Life was good, man. Can't complain. We weren't the marching dimes. Parents didn't have an exorbitant amount of money, but you had enough to take care of things you needed to take care of and the stuff that you needed to be able to live and survive. And that was always a good thing. A lot of times when you go through life, you recapping, things from when you were younger, what you had, what you didn't have, or have, what you had and what you didn't have. And the things that you might have wanted at the time that you might not have gotten. And then, you tend to look back and sit there and judge those things. For me, my older brother came first. Same dad, different moms. So I'm going to say he was the first. He's the oldest, obviously. So when I came to, I wasn't the only child, but obviously my brother lived with his mom. My dad and mother were together at the time. So it was kind of like being the only child to an extent, right? So fun things about that was at the time that I can remember, we lived in a house that was owned by my grandma, Big Rosetta Ling, and the family was there. So my dad, his sisters, grandma, like we was all, rocking and rolling in the blue house, as we always refer to it. We were in the basement apartment. This was in Jersey City, New Jersey. So, you have basement apartments up there. And then, next level, family members there. Third level, family members there. And it was nice, man. It was dope. Growing up with my cousins and stuff like that around, close-knit, which, we still are to this day. We like to laugh and joke and talk junk. But I look at that time and it's like I said, we didn't have a lot, but you wouldn't have known. You really didn't know the difference back then until you go back and start analyzing it. But it was good times, man. Life was good. I had my dog Champ, which I got for my first birthday. I don't know if that VHS is still floating out there somewhere in my mom's house. It might be. But first birthday party, got my dog Champ. And then, as I continued to grow, as things that I wanted came about, I got them. But it was old additive from my dad, which came from my grandma. You don't get nothing for free, right? Hence the name of my podcast, Nothing for Nothing Leaves Nothing. You do not get anything without putting something into it. So growing up for me, it was always about work. Work is in like a chore or whatever little task you had to do to get the things that you wanted, right? Nothing was given to you just outright. You had to work for it. Develop the work ethic. Gave you a drive to push for something, right? So that's one thing that came from my dad and my mom that, always held true. More so from my dad, because he was kind of, that was kind of his thing. And like I said, I had the things that I wanted, video games, toys, you name it, had it. Life was good. As you progress and get older, you start to notice and realize things and see stuff. So as you're growing, things change. Things happen. You move to different locations and things of that nature. So I remember moving from Atlantic Street to Morton Place. That was where, apartment that we lived in. Continued to grow, go to school. And that's when I could really recount seeing for the first time when it did get to this point where things got rough, right? And in that place, money got a little screwed up or whatever, it happens. And at that time, no clue why things were happening, but it happened, right? Lights got cut off. Next thing you know, they, booting you out the crib, putting locks on your door, got evicted. Remember, lights getting cut off and running a cord from the apartment to neighbor's house. And that's how you had your, juice to keep, at least keep your fridge running. So I remember going from that to, I don't even know what my dad was saying at the time, but I remember me and my mom stayed with her sister, my Aunt Cynthia, for a little bit during that time. And, they were doing the adult thing, don't have the intricate details on that part, but doing the adult thing and trying to find some place to live. So as you go through that stage, like I said, this is when you start to realize, okay, this is a little weird. Okay, we're staying at Auntie's house. Okay, you're not going back to that place. Packing up, moving. And then we settled on Wilson. So we get there, set up there, get situated, and then we were at that spot for a good while. I say a good couple of years. And that's also, at that time was around time when my sister came. So that's always a topic of conversation. I don't think, it is what it is. That's one of those situations. If you know, if you don't, you don't. I'll leave it at that. So around that time, my dad was Army Reserves. So I don't remember if he had came back already or if he was gone. Either way go, I ended up going to stay with my grandfather for a good couple of months. Now that in itself was an adventure. A little bit weird, but I don't know. It was an experience. I'll put it that way. So was there with him for a good couple of months. Stayed there, lived there. Got taken care of by my grandpa. I remember the running joke was when I went back from there because my grandfather had bought me some shoes and some other, a couple clothes and stuff like that. So that was kind of a hot topic. My cousin used to make jokes about it. But the reason that was a hot topic is because, like, my grandmother, so my dad's parents separated. Nobody ever saw divorce papers when they split. So the running thing was they were still married. I don't know how that worked out, but that's, like I said, it is what it is. So, but my grandfather, had a new lady, his now wife, and that the relationship between my grandfather and my dad and his sisters was always a little strained because the woman that he was with, he put her family on a certain pedestal, and we were kind of like an afterthought. So now you can see my puzzling of going to stay with my grandfather for the time that I stayed with him. I don't know how that came about. I don't know who said what, how it set it up. I never really asked about it. I might want to, but it came about. I stayed over there. Come back from there. My sister's born. My sister's there. She becomes a little terror, kind of like a little shadow. Everywhere I went, she was there. She moved. It is what it is. She went to her health issues. She was born. She had a tube in. Just a whole bunch of medical stuff when she was little. So my parents navigated that. So this is the time where well more cognizant, well more aware of the things going on around. So what do you see? My family likes to drink. That's not a shock. That's not some big secret. It's not some taboo thing, right? A lot of people's families drink. It happens. People do it all the time. They do it every day. So for me, what I noticed around that time was personalities would change, right? My dad, and this is, I know people might like, Dad, do you kind of ragging on your folks? But it's just me telling my piece of my side of it and the effects of how I got to where I am now. So I would see my dad drink. Dude would get shit face, legit shit face. Now, if he was to do that now in today's climate, we probably would have been taken away from both of my parents, if I'm being honest. But that's how it went down, man. That's how it happened. It is what it is. Ain't no sense crying about it. That's just the way it went down. But I've seen it, right? See my dad shit-faced drunk, passed out. I've been in the car with my dad when he was driving, intoxicated. Me and my sister in the car, trying to make it back home. Him falling asleep by the light, right? Just shit that you see. From a mom's standpoint, she drank. During that time, she get angry. No, I'm not saying people were abused and slapped around and that type of shit. She would just get angry. Short fuse. That's just what happened. Alcohol affects people different. So these are the things that you're seeing as you're growing up, right? So this is what you would see weekends, not every weekend, but you see weekends. Like I said, man, we was in the ghetto, Jersey City, New Jersey, rocking and rolling. We was on the blocks. So summertime rolling around, it's barbecue season. Cookouts, block parties, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So obviously there's a bunch of alcohol and stuff going on, among other things that might have been floating around. I can neither confirm or deny any of those. However, it is what it is, right? So this is what you're seeing. So as we're going through this phase, and we were there at this house, it was things that were talked about, things that were being done. People were doing things they weren't supposed to. As far as whether it was drinking, people hooking up with people they weren't supposed to be hooking up with, all kinds of shit, right? But this is what you're seeing, right? You see some stuff when you're younger and you're kind of like, okay. You go back and start revisiting, you start realizing some shit that was going on. So we go there. We were there for a little bit. I was there for some years. I grew, my sister grew. And for the most part, things with my parents were pretty solid. They were still rocking and rolling, doing their thing. Pretty sure they had some issues going on there that weren't discussed or wasn't known about. I would say known about more so from myself standpoint. All right, cool. Continue to grow, do some things I went through. But some things I experienced during that time. I remember one of the things I experienced was money started to become an issue. Now, when I say money started becoming an issue, it was when, you notice some things might get paid, things might get cut off, cars getting repoed, just different things going on, right? People trying to figure out, where's the money that was supposed to be coming and going, what happened to it, so on and so forth. Wasn't privy to that stuff, like I said. I was a youngling at the time. But this is the stuff you're seeing. So as you're seeing this stuff, it was making me wonder, like, what was going on. Now, obviously, back then wasn't asking no questions and stuff like that, but wondering what was going on. Also, during that time, I'm growing, doing things, and it was a trip, man. Like, I remember experiencing, they had put a basketball court on the block, and like they had put a little park in or whatever. And I remember, money was tight, didn't have, certain things or whatever. But I remember being at the basketball court playing basketball, and literally the whole bottom part of my shoe fell out. Right, like legit, whole bottom part of my shoe came off. So I had to, mind you how embarrassing that is, right? You're playing basketball with your boys and stuff on the floor and your shoe just falls off, right? So make my way back to the house, shoes is jacked up. And at the time, I was going to Sacred Heart, which is a private school, dead smack in the ghetto. That school is still there today, rocking and rolling. So shout out to Sister Francis and the crew, still doing their thing, educating kids and keeping them moving. So in school, we would have gym. So for gym, on that day, we had gym. You wore your sweatsuit uniform instead of your regular uniform, so you got to wear sweats that day. And I remember going to school, I think my brother had left a pair of shoes at the house or something like that. So obviously, older brother, right? So shoes don't fit. And I had to go to school, gym day. Cool. So broke out my brother's shoes, put them bad boys on and wore them to school. Straight clown shoe status. One of the most embarrassing things that I remember, among other things, from being in school from different times and points of things happening. So another embarrassing fact about being in private school was being in private school, and then things, like I said, my parents were doing whatever they were doing, and obviously you putting two and two together from listening to this, they wasn't doing the greatest that they were supposed to be doing with money. So being in the private school, obviously you got to pay. So times came where they was like, yo, a bill wasn't paid, you can't come to school. So sitting at the crib, twiddling thumbs, right? And it sucked, because obviously people know kids are cruel, right? We all know kids are cruel. But you sitting in school or sitting at home and you going back to school or being out of school, and you seeing these kids because they on the block and stuff like that. So they know you ain't sick, you ain't got no major health issues stuff going on. They know, hey man, you ain't in school because your folks ain't paid the bill, right? Cats ain't paid the bill, so you're not in school. So it's a little embarrassing, like when you think about that. Stuff does stuff to you. Like it leaves an impression in your psyche about certain things like money and stuff like that. All right, cool. Rock and roll and Sacred Heart. So as we continue to go down that road and journey, so like I said, started playing football. So I had outs, right? Had little outs. Also during this time, I had a major event happen where I got my ass completely whipped for stealing. Now, I don't know if these dudes ever listen to this podcast. They might, if it circles its way around and grows like I want it to. So, to my boys, Michael and Chris McCrae, I said it back then years ago when we were younger. I apologize to you both, your mom and your grandma, because these are supposed to be my friends, and like I said, this is just legit airing some real shit. And we used to go to their house all the time and play, and like their moms and grandma had this little, it was like I remember it was like a little egg or something. That's where they kept cash at, right? Kept cash for whatever they needed. So me being young, stupid, and trying to be sneaky about shit. I remember it was the corner stores. They always had like toys and all this other shit, right? So, and you get stuff. Like I said, I got stuff when I needed it or supposed to have it. Special events, Christmas, stuff like that come up, I would get the shit that I wanted. But they had this little, it was like a little toy gun set. Wanted that shit for months. So, obviously you could put two and two together. Was over there. Took a wad of cash out of there. So where we lived at, people sold drugs, shit like that, all around the way. So my bright idea, and I'm not proud of this, but like I said, I was young and stupid doing dumb stuff. And my bright idea was to take the money. So I took it, left the house, walked home, told my parents I found this wad of money on the side of the road from like a drug dealer spot. So think about that, right? If I really stole money from a drug dealer spot, that probably wasn't the smartest decision either. But that's the story I spun. So leading into that, so my folks were like, all right, whatever. So I was like, your mom found this money. Like, yo, here's X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. So I'm at the crib, and then what happened? My buddies show up with their mom, whatever. Like, yo, this and the third. Found out his money's missing. They was the only ones at the house, so they didn't take it. Da da da. Obviously got caught. Ass whooping city, right? Got put on lockdown. Got my ass whipped. Got blasted. Humiliated in front of my friends. Kind of betrayed my buddies at the time. And mind you, I went to school with these dudes, right? So obviously get to school. They tell everybody in the school, yo, this fool came to our house. He stole money. Da da da. So everybody looking at you sideways. More embarrassment. Now, wasn't my brightest moment, but hey, I was a kid. We all do stupid crap. It happens. You live and learn. So now you move past that. So obviously parents was pissed off, but in my head I was like, look, they struggling for funds. It's a quick way to get a little money. Let's roll with it. Not the smartest decision. Cool. Now you move forward a couple of years on Wilkerson. What happened? That fell to shit. And the reason that fell to shit, same thing. Money issues. Landlord got pissed off. I seriously remember the landlord being at our apartment, in our house, on our phone. I guess she was talking to my mom at some point. I don't remember where the fuck my dad was at. She didn't talk to my dad on the phone. They going off, right? Dad get off the phone. Next thing you know, my dad's like, all right, pack the shit up. We got to get out of here. Blah, blah, blah. So we moved back to Atlantic Street, right? 61 Atlantic. So we moved back over there and start rocking and rolling. So now this is around that time frame. You starting to get 13, 14, 15, right? You moving up the ladder. Now you're extra. Now I'm extra aware, extra nosy in a sense, trying to get in grown folks' business. But you just see the shit that's happening in front of you. Same thing. Dad was dealing with his struggles, with his shit that he was dealing with. Drinking alcohol, for sure, I knew that what it was. Was there other substances in there? I don't know. I would assume so. However, it is what it is. So we're there, and then you start seeing shit. The stuff start going to shit, right? Their relationships start going to trash. Computers is rolling, America Online, all that good jazz, AOL, Messenger, and all that type of shit. So I remember being on the computer one day, logging in, because back then it was all one system. It wasn't a bunch of usernames and all that type of shit like it is now. And getting on the computer and seeing that some lady was messaging my pops. Right? So I'm like, who the fuck is this lady? She talking whatever, blah, blah, blah. Me being young and dumb, not really knowing no better back then, I was like, oh shit, like what the fuck? Hit my mom and said, mom, just do messaging pops. Da, 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 da. Mom sees she go off, they get into it, whatever. But then you come to find out it's not a one-sided thing. And when I say it's not a one-sided thing, it's like she was doing her shit too. So you got two people in a relationship, in a marriage, where shit's going to shit. Whatever the reason they fell out, the reason the marriage failed, I couldn't tell you. I don't know the intricate details. I just know the shit went to shit. And when it went to shit, it got bad, right? Like, when I say bad, it's like she was doing her shit, he was doing his shit. And then between seeing all this, you got me and my sister. Now, Me, I'm noticing some things, but I'm not really paying attention to it. Like I said, 14, 15, football, school, girls. That's what I'm thinking about. That's just a fact. Hanging out with my buddies, that's what it was. Hanging out with my cousins and stuff like that from time to time. But everybody's starting to get older, stuff starting to shift. People moving. I don't remember around that time. I don't remember when my cousin moved to Virginia, but around that time, like I said, stuff's happening, people moving and shit like that. So now we get 8th grade. Boom, 8th grade come around. This is when shit really started getting real. So 8th grade rolled around. By this time, parents is done. Like, they together, but it's almost like just some formality type shit. Pops was on the road driving because he's a truck driver. He was on the road doing his shit. Driving, trying to get the funds together. Mom's at the crib. She was working during that time. I think around this time she started volunteering at my sister's school downtown. So she was working, doing volunteer shit, working her way into the school system. Cool. And then what happened? It came up again, right? Eviction time. But this time it was a little different. So at the time, one of my uncles was living upstairs from us. And the guy that owned the house, he went to school with my uncle. Like, they grew up together. So as stuff was going on, my parents was beefing, stuff going back and forth, shit crazy. Now around this time, house get a little full. My older brother came and stayed with us around this time. Not going into details of that, but he came and stayed with us for a bit. He was there. It was cool. It was dope. That was a fun, despite all the dumb shit going on with my parents, that was a fun time for me because obviously my brother was there. So it was me, my brother, and my sister. And we was kind of doing our own thing. More so my brother and I, because obviously he was older and I was getting closer to high school age. So conversations were different. We was having fun talking, doing all kinds of shit. It was dope. Like, I would say, if anything, from that fucked up period, that was a highlight, was kicking it with my brother for that good amount of time. It was good shit. It was really good shit. So now you fast forward, my pops is staying in the room with me and my brother. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this shit is fucking weird. But I'm also noticing at this time that my mom, she got a friend, and this friend just continues to pop the fuck up. So I'm like, all right, what the fuck is up with this dude? This shit's fucking weird. So I'm like, all right. My dad, he a silent type anyway, but now he's like extra silent. He ain't really saying shit. He ain't saying a bunch of nothing. So I'm like, all right, what the fuck's going on? Obviously, like I said, you start the realization, like, okay, this relationship's going to shit. Shit's fucked up. So now, let's continue to progress. So now we hitting 8th grade. Graduate 8th grade. So, for most of you folks that don't know, in Jersey, at least back then, you would go from kindergarten to 8th grade in one school. And once you hit 8th grade, you graduate, then you go to high school. That's the way it was done. So, as we're getting close to this is when, shit's going on. Now, in the gap, without going into extra details of every single little detailed thing, growing up, like I said, you started noticing, was you still getting things you needed? Yes. Was you still having fun? Yes. Was parents still around doing stuff? We was, the family was rolling for a good while. Stuff was rocking and rolling. You really couldn't tell the difference about some shit. Obviously, except for noticing that, people drink. And when people drink, they either get drunk and fall asleep, or they get drunk and get angry. That was my comparison. From my folks. All the family members, they just get drunk, get silly, talk slurred, doing all kinds of dumb shit. But it was what it was. We focusing pretty much on that, like I said, on my folks, parents. So during these time frames, like I said, there was good and there was bad. When shit was good, it was really good. When shit was bad, it was really bad. There was never a situation where it was a thing where our parents getting fucked up and drunk, and then, you getting slapped around, getting beat up or whatever. But if you think about it, driving in a car with 2 kids when you're completely intoxicated and falling asleep at a light is probably not the smartest thing in the world. It happened. It is what it is. And that's not an excuse for the things that happen. That's just a fact. That's the way it went down. You can't go back and change it. It happened. And it's the realization of people realizing, like, what they were doing at the time was a fucked up thing and wasn't smart. So you progress, like I said. Let's jump back into the 8th grade story. So 8th grade's rolling around. Like I said, someone's time to graduate. Same thing. Remember I talked about my grandfather earlier? Like I said, that dude was in and out during that time. So he would never want, like a lot of, we weren't too keen on his wife because she would say some real fucked up shit all the fucking time. Hell, she still do that shit now. And she would just say stuff and you're like, I can't with this lady. Like, just keep her the fuck away from me. Like, you know how you have that person, like, the most weird or the most, I don't even say, it's just stupid. I don't really classify it. Saying something really dumb and off the wall, that was her. She would say it and then she kind of give you this weird fucking look like, I can't, like, I don't know why you're upset. Like, I didn't say nothing wrong. And it's like, yes, you said something really, really fucked up. Like, just keep your mouth shut. But it is what it is. It's his wife, and that shit ain't gonna change. Other than the fact that I don't think they got married till after my grandmother died. Because, like I said, we never saw no divorce papers. It is, hey. So, 8th grade graduation coming up. So, obviously, I extended an invite to my grandpa. Hey, we only got so many slots. We'd love for you to come. Obviously, he wasn't feeling his wife, so it was like, yo, you can come, she can't. Now, hindsight 2020, being older, you have to have an understanding that you can't invite a husband to a spot and tell him he can't bring his wife. That's just not going to work. It just don't work. You got to be smart about it. That just don't work. And you can't get pissed off at the person. The person's like, okay, well, I'm not coming. You're making me choose between the two. Obviously, the person will side with their wife. Okay, fine. So he didn't show up. Family member showed up. We had a good time. So after graduating, obviously everybody's throwing graduation parties or whatever, stuff like that. So went to a couple. So had a little shindig at the crib with the family. So everybody's showing up. And like I said, this time my parents was like opposite ends of the spectrum. But I thought the most fucked up shit happened at this time. And I was super pissed with my mom for it when it happened. And I even said this to her face after the fact, years when we finally had an actual sit down conversation to kind of discuss some shit that I felt that I needed to discuss with her, which is why I'm talking about it now. So whoever the fuck this guy was that she was talking to, I don't even fucking know. Some light-skinned dude, bald head. He looked like a broke-ass version of Mr. Clean. Like a light-skinned black version of Mr. Clean. I don't know what's up with this dude. But, so we at the house. This is our house. And she's literally catering to this dude with my dad sitting right there. Like, you want to talk about some real disrespectful shit. That's some real disrespectful shit. People's there, families there, they seeing it. Cats is like, yo, what the fuck's going on? Like, what's up? And I remember my Uncle Marvin, God rest his soul, was like, I remember him pulling my dad to the side and I'm having a conversation. I don't know what the conversation is about, but I know he pulled him to the side and had a conversation. After that, I was like, damn. And I saw it and I was just pissed about it. I was like, I got to go. Like, I was pissed off. Took off, went to a friend's graduation party, was stayed over there, whatever. So now we roll into high school. So, freshman year of high school, went to attend Marist High School. Went to play football there. That didn't happen because one of the days I was on my way to football practice, I got hit by a fucking van. That wasn't fun. Had a grade 3 concussion, in and out of consciousness, was all fucked up, burnt the side of my face. It was pretty bad. So, no more football at that time for your boy. Shut that shit down. So, at this time, now I'm gonna tell you how fucked up this situation is. Even think about that, I'm like, damn, shit was crazy. So, on my way to practice, I get hit by a car. Boom. I think my dad was on the road or some shit. Either he was on the road or he was activated with the reserves. I don't fucking remember. It was one of the two. And they couldn't get a hold of my mom. Like, legit. I got hit by a car. I'm in the fucking hospital. On my way to the hospital. Can't get a hold of my mom. Shit's crazy. I don't even know what the fuck was going on. I don't know if her cell phone was turned off or some shit or what was going on. But couldn't get a hold of her until later. My Uncle Henry got, he took care of your boy. He got him to emergency room and shit like that. So gets emergency room. In and out of consciousness. Just shit was a bad situation. But I survived. I'm still here. Obviously, because I'm sitting here talking to y'all now. Cool. So as we're going through freshman year of high school, like I said, my brother's staying with us now. My dad is sleeping in the room, me and my brother. I'm like, this shit is fucking weird and awkward. And same thing, private school, right? That shit costs money. Somebody got to pay the bill. And It was times when it wasn't paid. So let me back up a little bit. So around this time, freshman year of high school, like I said, my parents' relationship is pretty much done. Pops is staying in the room with us. Him and moms ain't talking. And I think around this time, my dad had a life epiphany. And the reason life epiphany, because I think he got into a bad car accident where he crashed. He had a blue Astro van that he crashed into. I don't know, either a person. I mean, crashed into another car. What the fuck the situation was? But I do remember all of a sudden then he tried the whole Muslim thing, which I thought was fucking weird. But hey, teach his own. But I don't think he had insurance on the car or some shit, and I guess he worked out some deal with the dude, whoever he hit, to just pay the dude, whatever. So, shit was paid up. So that's what he did. So like, I think it was like every Friday or some shit. Dude come around, they sit down, read the Quran, all that type of trash. So around this time, he not drinking. Pretty sure he not getting into whatever extracurricular activities he was in at the time. So I'm like, all right, cool. He doing that, kind of halfway getting his life together. More power to him. I don't know what the hell my mom was doing at the time. I think she was still trying to do the whole school thing, and then she had this fucking weird ass Mr. Clean looking motherfucker floating in the background. All right. So as we progress on through, high school's kicking off and rolling. Around this time, Dad, so went to school. My brother was in, I think my brother was going to a technical college or some shit. So get up, go to school. My brother, he take off, he roll out. I take off, roll out. And then I think when we left, Pops was at the house or some shit. Get back to the crib that night, Pops was gone. Disappeared. Ain't hear from that mofo for like 6 months. Now, during that 6 months, he was paying tuition for the most part until he didn't. And then your boy was sitting at the crib, once again, twiddling his fucking thumbs because he couldn't go to school because the tuition wasn't paid. And then now on this level, it was more fucked up. And the reason I say it was more fucked up because you're in high school, obviously. Motherfuckers ain't stupid. And then the school, which I think was kind of, I really can't blame the school because, the policy is policy, whatever. But they would call you to the office and be like, hey, like your shit ain't paid, bro. Like you can't come to school tomorrow until it's paid. So then, I don't even know how my mom was communicating with my pops. If she was communicating with my mom, if she was going to my aunts or something. She might have been going to my aunt Diane. So, message had to get sent out like, yo, bro, where the fuck the money at, man? Like, tuition ain't paid, bro, sitting at the school. So that prepped them to get into a conversation. My mother and father get into a conversation about, okay, well, what are we going to do? Because, like I said, by this time, they were done. So it came to the grand plan of, because my dad had left when he finally decided to pop back up on the radar. He was in fucking Virginia. Now, in Virginia at the time was my grandmother, my aunt, and my cousins. So, but he wasn't there with them. I think he was in fucking Richmond or some shit, staying with some chick, whatever. So, decisions made. All right, you keep Fee. That's my sister's name. My sister's name is Felicia, if you don't know. So, my mom was keeping Felicia. My dad was getting me. That was the split. Fair split. They still around this time ain't really talking like that. Like, it's still kind of, wounds are still kind of fresh. Shit's kind of open. Shit's a little hostile. Now, during this time period is probably one of the roughest times I would say in my life with dealing with a parent. Because around this time, me and my mom was beefing every fucking day. Like, it was fucking miserable. Now, I don't know because I look exactly like my dad. It's like my dad literally spit me out. So that could be why. Because every time she see me, she see this motherfucker that she, at the time, didn't really care for. So shit was rough, man. Like, literally, I would go to school, hang out at school, do my shit at school. My cousin Kimmy was going to Marist at the same time, too. So that was pretty cool. Just cut up and act stupid during lunch and before classes and shit. It was fun. But once I got out of school, man, I didn't want to go home. So either I would get out of school and go to the library and stay at the library till that shit closed. Or I would get out of school and then I would go to what my cousins and I refer to as the cabin. Now, the cabin was Aunt Barbara and Uncle Marvin's house. God rest Uncle Marvin's soul because he's passed on. But that was the spot. Everybody go to the cabin and go there and kick it. Because Uncle Marvin was like, yo, everybody's always welcome at his crib. And they always had food and they always had cable with all the good shit. So Obviously, that's where we all wanted to go. So those are the two places. My Uncle Marvin was dope at that time because I would talk to him about like shit that I was feeling, what was going on, and me and him would chat, and he would, kind of keep a brother straight, keep my mind right, keep my mind focused. Working my way through that situation because obviously, like I said, my parents had just split, so he was helping the brother out with that. But between that and the library, that's where it was at. Like, I talked to my mom from time to time, but for the most part, we really wasn't talking like that. Like, I was pissed off and angry. She was pissed off and angry. It was just a bad situation. So, house was very, very tense. It was just a fucked up, tense environment. So, like, sometimes when I see, people like beefing with their parents and shit like that, and obviously hindsight 2020, as you get older and you realize like how stupid shit was and how immature it was because you was trying to involve yourself in shit you had no business involving yourself in, or you knew nothing about. There you go. So I was like, cool. That's how that went down. So I think that summer I finished school. Now, mind you, check this shit out. I was going to the library every day and I still failed the class. So I had to go to summer school. So I went to summer school. When I finished summer school, after summer school was over, it was like, all right, when you finish summer school, you're going to live with your dad in Virginia. Cool. No problem. That time comes, I think my sister went down with me because she was going down to see my dad too. And then that became kind of like the normal thing. My sister would come down to Virginia we'll go to Virginia every summer and vice versa. So moved to VA. So now this time for me was fun. And the reason I say it was fun because leading up to this, which I didn't talk about, leading up to this, I had a real personal issue with my grandma, and I love my grandma to death. But the reason I had the issue is because when she moved to Virginia, every year I would ask her, could I come down? Could I come down? Could I come down? She would say no. And I started getting pissed off, right? I started getting real disgruntled. I was like, why the fuck everybody else get to go to Virginia and I can't fucking go? And it was me and my cousin Sean. So Sean I love him to death, but he's a funny character because he was like, I'm the black sheep of the family. That's what nobody want to do with me. And he says that shit all the fucking time. And a lot of time we just laugh at him because he's like, you just fucking crazy. But we still love him. He's special. So he would say that, and I was like, yeah, man, black sheep, bro. They don't want us down there, man. That's fucked up. This and the third. So I finally moved down there, and then I was at peace. I don't know why I was at peace, but then I got to get the experience that some of my cousins had. And this is not talking bad about none of my aunties and stuff like that, but everybody goes through different things in their life at different times. And the way the family was set up, the way our family function was like, okay, if you're struggling getting your shit together, somebody would be like, because they all had kids, so somebody would, step up and like, all right, look, your kids will come stay with me while you getting your shit together, and then when you get your shit together, you get your kids go back and roll with you. Now, the cool thing about this, which I think is dope, is the fact that this was done with no courts and none of that crazy shit. It was literally you going to your sister and saying, look, get your shit together. I'm going to take your kids over here. We're going to keep them rocking and rolling because my shit over here is stable. We got a good environment for them. We're going to let it keep rocking and rolling. And that's what would happen. So it was never no vitriol of people like, oh, you think you better than me, none of that type of shit that you see now when people like, yo, let me get your kid to help you out so you can get your shit together. But that's how it went down. So a couple of my cousins had that experience where they was with my grandma, with one of my other aunties, whatever. Cool. Now, get down there. I think my dad, I don't know what the fuck, was he back at that? No, he was still in Richmond with this chick. Fucking crazy. So I get to my grandma's house. I get there. So my grandma, Ma Teresa, who I affectionately call Shirley, my cousin Jessica, cousin Leona, my cousin Michael, aka Shaky, and that was the spot, right? And that's what it was. So we was all down there, kicking it in with G and Beach. So my grandmother did all the school stuff, right? She took me clothes shopping for school to get my stuff. Like, this is when I started getting that extra time and that super time with my grandma. So obviously I had it when I was real young, and then obviously as you get older, you with your parents doing your shit, and grandma taking care of stuff she got to take care of. And then when her and my aunt moved to Virginia, it kind of was a little gap. So moving to Virginia, that gap was filled. So I got my grandma back essentially, which was pretty dope. And that's what it was, man. Staying in the granny house. We was going to school, Bayside High. Michael was already done with school, so I think he was working at supermarket or some shit. And then Leona, because she's the oldest of us, she was doing her thing. in the crib. Aunt Teresa was working, grandma working. So the only motherfuckers in the house that was going to school was me, Jessica, and Malcolm. Fun times. So let's look at the breakdown. If you look at my cousins. So the original 13 of us, and I say the original 13 because when my sister and my other little cousins came after the fact, they kind of fucked up the rotation. But the original 13, you got my cousin Leona, who's the oldest, and then you got, I believe it's DeMille. It might be Charles, I don't know. They kind of split. They like right there next to each other, about a year apart. That's the first group. Then my brother, unfortunately, I think he was in the group by himself. So then there's my brother, and then there's my cousin Sean, Chris, and Michael. Chris is no longer with us. God rest his soul. He passed, some years ago. And then after that group is my group. So there's Jessica. She's the oldest of the group. And then Kimmy, and then myself. And each one of us, each group is all a year apart from each other within that group. So that was the group. Like I said, the original 13. And then the other little schmucks came after the fact. So like I said, living there with my grandma, going to school, doing my school thing, whatever, rocking and rolling. Right at that time, I think my dad was in the process of getting ready to get out of the army. So that came, he got out, and I think right before he got out, he had to have like a hernia surgery or some shit. So Grandpops ironically showed up for that, which is fucking weird, but okay. Grandpops just making an appearance. So he came down because I think my dad's car was a manual. Nobody else could drive a fucking manual except for my grandfather. So he made the trip down there and drove the car back to Virginia. Dope. So dad goes and has surgery. We there. So we end up getting the house down the street from my grandma's house. And I think right when we got the house is when the shit jumped off. And we got the house before he got out the army. Because we got to the house and then he got activated some shit and he got sent off. And then I was literally 15 and a half, almost 16, living in a house by myself. The shit was pretty fucking nice. Not gonna lie. Shit was dope. I got my meals. I would go to my grandma's house and sit there and eat dinner. So, but then she would take me grocery shopping, so I had food and shit like that in the house, basic shit that you can cook, because 15, 16 years old, gotta make a little bit of food. So I'm living my life, man. At this point in my life, let's see what's going on. So from a parent standpoint, my dad was there pretty much trying to figure his shit out, so he was still, his structure shit was always the same. That shit never changed. So he was still said, fast, you gotta go to school, do your schoolwork, blah, 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 blah. You ain't gonna get shit unless you work for it. Cool. At this time, I wasn't really talking to my mom, so I would talk to her very sparingly, if at all. And that's just what it was for that time period. So this is going into my sophomore year of high school. So during that time period, my dad, like I said, he finished with the army, he come back. And then when he came back, man, that's when he met my stepmom. And she wasn't my stepmom then because they started dating or whatever. So you want to talk about parenting and dealing with different parents, right? So this is where shit got stupid. I was pissed at my dad for this shit because I was like, this is the stupidest decision you've ever fucking made. So he started talking to her. They dating, doing their shit or whatever. All right, cool. So most of the time he go stay at her house for a couple of days or whatever. She was never making her way to the crib. When she first came around, she was cool, right? Like, she didn't have no, we didn't really have no beef or whatever. It was getting to know people, whatever. But she was cool, right? My stepbrother and my stepsister, for the most part, they was pretty spoiled. If they hear this and get upset about it, I'm sorry, but that's my viewpoint. Y'all motherfuckers was spoiled. But it was cool. When her and my dad first got together, I got the same shit. Like, if I wanted something, she would hook your boy up. So I ain't really had no beef. I was sucking it up too. I was like, man, this shit's pretty fucking nice. I'm not rocking the boat. She cool with me. You know what I'm saying? So, pretty much one of those situations where it's like you're getting some shit, so you're like, all right, cool. So, from a parenting standpoint, she was more of a laid back person. She didn't really crack whip too much until shit got really stupid. But for the most part, she was pretty cool. She was always the one that kind of kept shit calm and cool collected, which was pretty nice. And then they made the grand decision to move in together. I was fucking pissed. And the reason I was fucking pissed is because I had my own room and always had my own room. And then all of a sudden now I got to share my room with my stepbrother. And I was like, this is bullshit. And my stepsister, obviously, she got her own room. So I was double like, man, fuck that. Like, y'all motherfuckers y'all moving into this crib, which is me and my dad's. And now I got to give up my room, share my room. Like, bro, they had a nigga sleeping on bunk beds, dog. Fucking sophomore year in high school, sleeping on a fucking bunk bed. Tell me where that shit make fucking sense. It didn't. Not to me. Stepsister had her own room, alright, cool. So for the most part, when this shit first jumped off, everybody moved in, we was all cool. Like, I mean, we still cool now. Like, anybody got no beef for real. So we going through, but now as you're going through, you got shit's blending, right? Shit's starting to mesh, starting to be around each other more often. You dealing with people, personalities, and shit like that. So shit got a little stupid. And the reason shit got stupid is because, like I said, I'm in high school, man. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck going on. I don't know who the fuck I am. I'm trying to figure out that whole narrative and shit. But at the core, like I said, because it's talking about parents, at the core of it, my dad was always steadfast the same way. Now, and this time, he had completely stopped drinking, so he wasn't drinking at all. So, no alcohol, none of that type of shit. So, he was always clear-headed Jones. But he was steadfast, man. My dad was hard as shit. Like, this is when my dad was rough. He was fucking rough. He's still fucking rough to this day. I mean, not so much now because I'm a fucking grown-ass man and not living in the house with him. But he was fucking rough. Like, high school, cats getting tattoos and shit. He was like, you ain't get no tattoos living in my fucking house. When it came to shit, first car, even when I started fucking working. I started working, now thinking about this dynamic. It's me, my stepsister, Shayna, my stepbrother, Christian. So, Shayna and I are a year apart. So, I start working, Shayna working, cool. We're getting our little money. We in high school, making a little change. And my pop's like, yo, when you get paid, you gotta get something to the house. Same philosophy my grandmother had. My cousin Michael worked, he had to get money to the house, right? So we gotta get money to the house. So I'm like, alright, but I'm not really feeling this give money to the house shit, because I'm like, yo, why the fuck I'm the only nigga giving them money? So this is when that parenting thing kicked in. My stepmother, Dawn, that wasn't her thing. She wasn't raised that way. That's not the way she was brought up. So obviously she's raising my stepbrother and stepsister the way she was, right? Different scenario, different people, personality type. My dad's like, no, you gotta get money up to the house. And I was like, man, this is fucked up. Like, why I gotta give money and she ain't giving up no fucking money? Like, my thing is like, keep the shit fair. So Dawn and my dad, that's when they would get into it. She was like, why are you, you make him do the blah, blah, blah. And my dad was pretty much like, I don't really give a shit. That's what the fuck he need to do. That's the way the shit went down. So I got my little check, my little bit of change, whatever I had to contribute. That's what I had to fucking contribute. And it was what it was. Now, if you look at that hindsight 2020, what does that mean? So you're getting pretty much that life lesson of it ain't shit free. So you staying somewhere, you got to fucking pull your weight. And that's pretty much what it boils down to. And it was rough, man. So like I said, I was working. So like when it came to getting shit, my dad was like, I'm not giving you nothing. you got your own money, go pay for it. Unless it was something like, if it was like when I got my first car, right? Obviously he helped me get my first car, then he gave me like $500. Then I had to come up with that. He gave me $500, I had to come up with the rest. Basic shit like when you get your first car, right? That's where it boils down. But that's the way it was, man. Like, if I look at the breakdown between my older brother, who was living with his mom, my sister who was staying with our mom, and me. So my older brother was with his mom, so that was, my dad really wasn't really messing with and interfering with, what was going on over there. And same thing with my sister. But he always tried to instill the same lessons to everybody, because that's what dads do, right? They kind of try to keep it blinking across the board. But in doing so, man, like literally, and I tell people this shit all the time, I say, dude, I got the most shit from my dad like you wouldn't believe. Because he didn't give me shit. He was like, you gotta fucking work for it. And then when I started working, he was like, I definitely give you shit. Like, you got your own money, you figured that shit out. Now, if I got stuck and needed help, yeah, he'd kick a little bit, but for the most part, I still had to figure that shit out and pay my own shit. So I'm like, damn, man, this shit's fucking trash. Now, mind you, this is going on in the same house where my stepsister, my stepmom, like, if my stepsister needs something, my stepsister should get a little break off. Not all the time, because she was working too, so my stepmom was like, yo, you work, you got your own money. But she would still get her break offs, right? I would get mine too. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't get my little trinkets and my kickbacks from her as well. But as I continued to grow, like I said, temperatures start flaring, personalities start clashing, so me and my stepmom would get into it. And then I got petty as fuck. I am fucking petty. You can call me King Petty. I would do some real petty shit. So my dad would be on the road driving, because he was a truck driver, right? So he'd be on the road driving. And me and my stepmom get into it for whatever reason. Something that happened. And a lot of times what would happen, which my stepsister and my stepbrother probably would deny this shit, but what would happen is something would happen in the crib, And obviously, both of them motherfuckers is like, oh, wasn't us. So she was automatically like, you did X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, man, fuck you. I didn't do that shit. One of these motherfuckers did it. Right? That's how we balled down. I took the heat for it, and I started taking the heat for a lot of shit, and I started getting pissed off, and I started getting fucking angry. And I'm like, man, this is fucking trash. I'm not dealing with this shit. No. So what I would do is I would come in the crib, like I'll go get my cousin Mike. Me and my cousin Mike come to the crib, playing video games or some shit. So we walk in the house. I wouldn't say shit, which is the most disrespectful shit you can do. And on Diane, I apologize because no, that's not how we roll. So I would walk in the crib and wouldn't say shit to her. Or if I did, I would make a very general statement, so it wasn't like I was directly saying something to her, but I was saying something to her, and I would do that shit all the fucking time. And what would happen? She'd pick up the phone, call my dad. My dad get on the phone. You need to stop doing blah 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 blah. And I'm like, man, whatever, bro. I don't really fucking care. Fast forward, rocking and rolling. So you keep moving on, and as this dynamic is growing, like I said, now. They weren't married at the time, they were dating, whatever. But shit got hectic. Then I started resenting being at my pop's house. So around this time, like junior year, come rolling around, and this is around the time me and my mom start reconnecting. So I get my mom's, go up to Jersey, because now I'm driving. So I would take a Greyhound up to Jersey for holidays and shit like that once we started, kind of building that relationship back up. So I would take a trip to Jersey, sit down, had a conversation. So one of the times I went up, I was like, I need to sit down and talk on conversation. I had a conversation with my pops at one point. I think it was the night when I did my orientation at high school. We had that conversation. So I had that conversation with my dad probably 2 years before I had a conversation with my mom. So we sit, a year before. So I sit down, talking to him. I'm like, hey man, look, this is what I saw. I saw this, I saw this, I saw this. Me and my dad had a grown man conversation. He was like, look, this is what was going on. This is what was happening. This is what I was dealing with. This is what I was going through. This is what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. And that's how shit played out. He owned the shit that he did. And some things we didn't talk about because he didn't want to talk about them. Fair enough. He was the adult. So if he didn't want to talk about it, he not going to talk about it. Or it was one of those where he was like, talk to your mother. All right. So that's what I did. Sat down with my mom, had a conversation, talked about the stuff I saw, whatever. We had a conversation, we was good. So that gap of time where shit was fucked up, like they were both doing a lot of fucked up shit. And it's even stories in there where, like, I remember one time my dad was passed out drunk and then my mom was at a bar fucking around doing whatever the fuck she was doing. And my sister, I think her diaper was fucked up with some shit. And literally, this is the most fucked up situation ever. I couldn't get my dad up because he was passed out drunk. I couldn't get a hold of my mom because she wasn't answering her pager and all that type of shit. So I literally took my little sister, put her in a stroller, walked from our house to the bar where my mom would always go. I don't even know if that shit's still there. It was called TCB. To the bar looking for my mom, couldn't find her. So obviously she dipped off with whoever the fuck she dipped off with at that time. I remember going to my aunt's house, trying to get a hold of her. I don't even fucking know what the hell happened with that. I don't know if she was there, was there, what the fuck happened. Now, mind you, I ain't walking in the streets. I had to have been, 12, 13? With my sister. My sister was probably, between 4 and 5 or some shit like that, give or take. Probably a little younger. And made my way around. So, that night, she finally get back to the crib. Obviously, I get an ass whooping because I'm running in the streets in the middle of the fucking night with my baby sister. My dad had no fucking clue because he was passed out drunk. He actually threw up and passed out in the bedroom. Shit was fucking crazy. But despite all of that, so pretty much all of that shit that went on then, so that was on Wilkerson and then leading all the way into Atlantic. All the shit that was going on then was because their relationship was pretty much going to shit. So he drinking, she drinking, he doing whatever the fuck he's doing, she was out doing whatever the fuck she was doing, and it just made for a bad environment, right? So with all that shit going on, people probably listening is like, man, your parents are fucked up, dude. Yeah, they had some fucked up shit going on, man. They was going through some shit at the time. You fast forward, like I said, high school. Now it's not so much me and my mom beefing. Now it's me and my stepmom beefing, or me and my stepmom and my dad. And yeah, this shit was fucking crazy. So as I'm going through, like I said, stuff in the house is going on, and it was a constant. Shit was good, shit was bad, shit was good, shit was bad. It was like a fucking seesaw all the fucking time. Half the time when I would get pissed off, and this is more so when me and my grandmother were actually close, I would just go to sit there and talk to my grandmother, like, hey grandma, look, this shit is fucking crazy. To the point where my grandma got pissed off with the woman because obviously shit going on. So my grandma like, yo, what the fuck's going on? She would get more so pissed at my dad because she like, you can't let somebody talk to your child this way and you not do shit. Like pretty much he would just kind of let shit ride or side with his woman, which is ironically the same shit my fucking grandfather does and still does. Funny how that works, right? You follow the same shit that your parents did. So we move on past that. I start college. What's fast business rewind? Leading into this time, my dad's girlfriend at the time, because like I said, they weren't married, had never met my mother. So this made for a very fun and intriguing interaction when my graduation came. So graduation roll up, your boy finally making it out of high school. Now, when my graduation rolling around, I was a cocky son of a bitch because both my father and my stepmother told me I would not graduate high school. So ironically, when that day came, I was beating my chest like that. I was that dude. So graduation comes. My mom said she was coming down, so my mom comes down. Now, quick pause, back up a little bit. During this time, I would get pissed with my mom during these years because what would happen is obviously I was working, but every now and again I hit my mom, hey mom, can you kick me some funds? Right? Mom, send your boy some money. So I would get pissed because I was like, hey mom, I need $100. She's like, okay, I'm gonna send you 100. When she finally sent the money, she sent $20. I just be fucking pissed off. Crushed, devastated. I'm like, man, she said she was gonna send me 100, she was gonna send me 20. So obviously I'm gonna go back and bitch them on to my dad and my, now stepmother. And so they would get pissed. So now causing issues. So this is when, as I look back now, when you say fucked up shit about a person to other people, it makes them form an opinion about that person. Right? So you have to be mindful about what you say to people about somebody that about whoever, right? If you're dealing with a person, friend, whatever. Be mindful of what you say about a person to other people because it makes people form an opinion and then they want to roll with it. So even when you try to go back and dispel the things that they're saying, a lot of times people don't listen. Some do, some don't. Depends on the person. Some people get pissed off because they feel that person hurt the person and they get mad. They want to go through their stuff. Okay, it is what it is. So hindsight 2020 for those listening. If you have in a situation where you have an issue with one person and that person also deals with somebody else that you know, don't go bad mouthing the one person to another person because it just makes for a messy situation. Very messy. And a headache. And it almost never fully rectifies itself. It does, but then it doesn't. So you'll be stuck in this fucking endless loop. However, so graduation comes, like I said, boom, my mom shows up. So my mom brought her best friend with her that she'd been rocking with forever, Aunt Blythe. Aunt Blythe is a bigger woman. And because, like I said, my dad's girlfriend at the time had never seen my mom. She was a bigger woman. So my mom shows up. So she sees Blythe. And from what I was told from cousins and stuff like that she thought that Blythe was my mom. So she was kind of like, okay, whatever. Not that big of a deal. And then she saw my mom. And that's where her face got a little turned. My mom was this small, little, petite little thing. And she was like, oh, shit. That's your ex? Okay. So therein lies a narrative of an endless cycle of just headaches and frustration for my poor daddy. Because every time he would turn around when some shit would jump off, she swore up and down that these two want to get back together. And that shit wasn't happening. But she could never understand how two people that had so much beef with each other can still co-parent and do shit without it leading into some other shit. I don't know. That's her mindset. That's what she think. It is what it is. Ain't really much to do about that one. But so that was that. That situation happened, and then this is where my dad got some beef. So graduation's over. My grandma at the time didn't have a whole lot of money. She was, she was retired, so she fixed income. So she wanted to do a little something, have everybody come to the crib. So she scraped up her little bit of change. She went and got some chicken, because obviously, black folks like to fuck with our chicken. She went and got some chicken set up at the crib so we can have a little dinner. Nothing crazy or fancy, just a little shindig. My pops didn't show up. And he didn't show up because his girlfriend was upset about some shit with mom. She was upset with my mom because she said she felt my mom should have said thank you to her for what she did, because obviously I was living there with her and my dad. My personal opinion on that one is, I don't buy it, and I don't feel like my mom should have, but hey man, you got your own opinion. And the reason I say that is because, yeah, I was there, but look at all the bullshit that happened while I was there. All the back and forth, the headaches, and all this other shit. Now, mind you, I played my part in it too. But you can't do the shit and say the shit that you say to somebody about somebody's mom, and you never met this person, and then expect that person will show up and kiss your ass. It's not going to happen. So, parents, this is the different mindsets of parenting style. Like I said, dad stayed on that trajectory, structure, even killed. But like I said, dealing with him and her and all the shit that was going on was fucking hell. So now if you're listening, and if I'm making any kind of sense to you, you see the pendulum swing. When I first left, when they first split, me and my mom was not on good terms, so everything was rock and roll with my pops. As my pops started to transition to a new relationship, then the pendulum swung back to where it was me and my mom's vibe, and then me and my dad was kind of like on this big swing all the time. And as we're moving and progressing through, like I said, I go finish high school, I start college, I go to college for 2 years in North Carolina, which was dope. My cousin Jessica was there with me. Yeah. So finished up college there, and then she ended up leaving and going to a different college. So then it was just me, and then her hubby, Sean, was at Lewisburg. So me and Sean was rocking and rolling out in Lewisburg, chilling. It was good shit. Finished up at Lewisburg, came back, went to ODU. So during this time frame, parents are still like, hey, you need to go to school. If you're not going to school, you need to do something. So around this time, I was flirting with the whole joining the military thing, and I was like, all right, I got to figure this shit out, because I was over school. Now, during this time, I decided to go. I get back from school, shit jump off of my dad, I get kicked out. Me and my stepmom got into it because, what the fuck happened? Something happened. Stuff would happen to my stepbrother stuff, man, and the shit used to irritate the fuck out of me, because shit would happen, and then all of a sudden, every time some shit happened to his shit, it was always my fault, or I did something to it. So something happened with one of his electronics, and then she made this big fuss about it. I talked to my dad. I'm like, look, man, what the fuck's going on? My dad was like, oh, this and third, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He went and replaced it, and I was like, fuck that. And I went in and went the fuck off on her. Like, just blew up. She got mad. Obviously, she got pissed off. They threw me out of the crib. My dad was pissed off. Pops threw me out. So now, if you're looking at this, listening to this, you're like, damn, your pops threw you out over a chick. Yes. At that particular moment, that's exactly what the fuck happened. So I went to my grandma's house, obviously, because she was up the street. So poor granny was hailing, dealing all this shit. So I'm pretty sure she wasn't too happy about it. So at that time, my cousin Mike and his girl had a spot. So I went and stayed over there for a little bit. Yeah, that wasn't a fun experience. I appreciate y'all, but y'all know what the fuck happened. That shit wasn't fun. Shit got wild. Yeah. That's a story for another day. But shit got wild. Long story short, after that, I was finishing up with ODU. I was like, okay, I'm done with this shit. So I finished up there. Started working. Was busting and knocking and rolling at Hollywood Video. And still talking to my pops about, like, I got to figure some shit out. So then it happened that I went back to him and was like, look, I can't stay over there no more. I need to come back to the crib. By this time, I had made the decision to join the Navy. So I was like, look, I'm going to get ahead and join the Navy, blah, blah, blah. I went through the whole program, process, all that type of shit, delayed and shit, all that type of shit. So I do that, cool, rock and roll. So now I'm staying back at the house, but I'm working, getting my shit ready to go to the Navy. Well, they decided to move. Now, mind you, when I moved back into the crib, it was always tension jumping off. So it literally got to the point where I knew for a fact I could not stay with my dad and now my stepmom for too long, because shit just didn't work. Shit does not mesh. So obviously, every time that happened, I would get pissed at my pops. I'm like, yo, bro, like, I'm your kid, man. You supposed to have my back, dog. Like, what the fuck going on? Leaving a brother high and dry, like his daddy. So, like my grandfather. If you're picking up the rotation and the pattern that I'm talking about when I talk about shit that your parents do. So we get there. I like, cool. So they decided they're going to move. So I'm like, all right, cool. Y'all moving? Bet. Now, at this time, my girlfriend at the time we was cool. So pretty much what happened was they said they were moving. She said I couldn't go. So I went to my grandma. I was like, yo, they moving. And she said, I can't go with them to the crib. Like, where the fuck is my pops at? Like, why you ain't standing up? Like, the whole time this is going on, I'm like, dude, why the fuck are you not standing up for me? You supposed to have my back. I'm your blood. I'm your son. And you continuously leaving me on the fuck. Like, you literally putting me on the shitter. Like, just throwing me to the fucking side. Shit's fucked up. Now, caveat to during this shit, when all this time was going on, this dumb shit was going on, I had a shit ton of buddies out in Virginia. Heavy was doing car shit and all that kind of stuff. So I had friends. So ironically, every time they would get pissed off with me or want to start some shit, okay, I get all the shit. Lewis is fucked up. Lewis is whatever fucking narrative you want to come up with. That's the shit that they would roll with. So I was the bad guy out of their group. I'm the bad person. I'm the one with all the issues, emotional, all this other shit. But ironically, every time they needed something, which is funny, people treat you like shit, and then at the end of the day, you get the last laugh because they need you for shit, which is exactly what happened a lot of times during this time frame. But like I said, they move out, they move into a spot, so I go to my grandma, I'm like, look, they putting me out again. I'm getting ready to leave for the Navy. I'm not making a whole lot of money with the place I'm working. What am I fucking supposed to do? I can't afford to go move out and live on my own. So my grandmother pulled my father up there, and this is one of those times where Big Rose was Mama Rose for daddy. And she told him, she said, look, if you're putting that boy out, that shit ain't gonna work. You know he about to leave and go to the military, and you doing this shit to him, it's fucked up. If you're gonna make him move out, you're gonna pay half his fucking rent. I'm like, damn, sound like a good deal to me. So like I said, my girlfriend at the time, her friend needed a roommate, so boom, I went and moved in over there. That chick was never at the crib because she was always at her boyfriend's house, so I pretty much had the place to myself. It was pretty nice. Had my own little spot. But my dad, I give him his credit. What his mama told him to do, which he didn't fuck with his mama, he did. So he paid half my rent up until I left and joined the Navy. So I leave, join the Navy, right? So obviously you go to the military, you on your own, getting some training and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that really changed a whole bunch of mindset. But when I came back from basic, I got stationed in Virginia. I was trying to go to Japan. That shit didn't happen. But I got stationed in Virginia, so I'm like, cool. So while I'm in Virginia, going through life, I ended up I fractured my femur head in my left knee and tore my ACL, MCL, and PCL. So I tore ligaments in my knee. So at this time, I'm halfway crippled. I was staying in the barracks. The car that I had was a stick shift. It was a manual. And my dad was like, you stuck out there, you can't do shit. Just come stay at the house. Bet. So move out the barracks. I grab my shit from the barracks, go to the crib. So I'm at my dad's house. So now during this time, this is when me